Hi, this is Mark Vondrasek from Evanston Township High School Science Department, and I just wanted to talk a few minutes about a variety of examples of activism that we can use for STEM classes. And these typically are things that students really get a kick out of when you get them involved. It's loaded with SEL skills that fall under our umbrella of the 5 competencies of social emotional learning: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and relationship building, and responsible decision making. So things like peer mentoring and tutoring, if you have any of that going on in your own classes or between sections, between teachers within the department, often schools will have in-house mentoring and tutoring programs. It's a great way for students to be able to help each other. And there is quite a demand when you're doing remote learning for this. In Evanston, for example, there are programs being set up where high school students can tutor and mentor elementary students or middle school students in different subject areas. Some number of teachers already do things like this. You might pick out community-wide activism. For STEM, that would be environmental studies, for example. It'd be something like cleaning up a park or a river, the school grounds, doing soil samples or water samples, talking about the importance, trying to get the feelings and emotions of students. If you do have a lot of pollution in the area, what does this mean for your community? What does it mean for those individuals? Lots of discussions can happen for things like that. In this day and age, there's all sorts of science deniers, conspiracy theories, on everything from the COVID pandemic to climate change, anti-vaxxers. The moon landing was fudged in a big production. Let kids talk about that stuff. Let them really get into it and see why would people fall for some of this despite the scientific evidence that's out there. How can we do better at educating the general public on things like this? Campaigns for things like petitions, writing letters to policymakers is a big one for high school students. I've had students come to me and we've done letter writing campaigns about things like climate change, about things like vaccinations. This is actually kind of cool because a lot of our students nowadays actually don't even know what the formal format is for writing a letter. They've never written letters before. They don't know how to address an envelope. And that's a great way for them to really be thinking about the consequences and trying to almost do like an argumentative type letter to try to convince a policymaker on an issue. Something that a lot of US teachers actually aren't even aware of are the 17 United Nations SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. There's a global campaign by 2030 to hit 17 different areas and make major progress for the sake of humanity. And if you do anything as far as like global citizenship, our responsibility as a country to other countries, empathy, things like this, the 17 goals address all sorts of issues. Students can kind of pick and choose what's relevant to your class, anything relevant to hunger, to poverty, and economics, gender equalities, social justice, education in general around the world, and the discrepancies and lack of equity between country to country and even from town to town, in some cases here in the United States. Energy, goes on and on, sustainable cities and communities. All of these are just loaded with ideas and suggestions of what you can do locally, what you can do nationally, and even with global partnerships. And there's different organizations that you can get your class hooked into if they want to do global projects. Things like writing white papers, okay, or websites on a STEM-related issue, where students can really put out their own potential solutions. Let them do a deep dive into an issue that they're concerned about or interested in, and really write it up and try to convince people as to what view you're taking. A lot of our students over the summer have been taking part in some of the peaceful protesting, in community activism along anti-racism, along social justice. Many of our students will be involved in campaigns, whether for state, federal, or presidential campaigns. This will be a big year where a lot of our students get involved with this. And of course, our high school, many high schools have community service clubs, probably dozens of different activities locally that people can get involved in. So yeah, there's a pretty good list of different things here, sister schools, whether it's local, national, or even global, where you talk about culture and do joint projects with other classes and other communities. Doing fundraisers here at Evanston, we do a lot with friends internationally in Malawi after the Great Famine about 6 years ago. We've helped them actually raise crops through fundraising, get them involved in research related to different social activist type projects. And there's dozens, there's hundreds nowadays of citizen science that anyone can just join, whether it's part of a class or just individually. Zooniverse is one that's run locally out of the Adler Planetarium, for example. If you have older kids, to get involved in the voting process, that's another great way to spark lots of discussions within classes if you have juniors and seniors. So I hope this helps just kind of introduce the notion of STEM-related activism. Lots of things that people do and can do, and to get your kids involved. And it's just loaded with social emotional learning skills.